When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score soon as I step through the door. Tryna stack my paper up like a bookstore. Money kissing each other like a rock and roll tour. When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score soon as I step through the door. Tryna stack my paper up like a bookstore. Money kissing each other like a rock and roll.
Hey, Tyler.
What's goody?
What's going on? Welcome to the New Score podcast. My name is Pat. This is my co-host TYG, Tyler Pratt. Tyler, how we be doing?
Yeah, we be doing.
Hanging in there?
Yeah, I'm fucking day to day, hanging in there. We're always one step closer to the weekend during the week, if that makes sense.
Yeah. One day at a time. Thursday night football will be here before you know it.
Oh yeah.
And it's about to be week 5, which is we're just zooming by right now. This episode, we're going to recap week 4 a little bit, go through some of these games, and we're also going to look ahead at some of the lines for week 5 and see if we can get a jump start on something that we like. So we're just kind of keep it brief going through these games, just things that stuck out to us. It was a good weekend of football, not a great weekend. I think the weekend that we had last week really set the bar high. It was tough to top, but it's great. It was also a great college football Saturday. So let's get into it. We got Sunday morning football. Can you hear my fan? Okay. That happened over in Ireland between the Vikings and the Steelers. Steelers pulled off the win 24-21. I know you were all over the Steelers in this one. You got it right. By the way, betting, there are a couple games that really screwed us, but I ended up finishing like 500. How did you end up doing?
I did pretty well. I hit a same game parlay on the Thursday game, the Steelers and Vikings, and then threw in a couple live bets on that Bucks Eagles game because I love that plus 3.5, but the block punt early for a touchdown and everything kind of fucked it. But I threw live bets in at them plus 9.5, and then when the Eagles scored again, it was plus 14.5, and I threw something else in on them again. So those both ended up hitting, not the 3.5, which fucked a couple parlays, but those made up for it. I want to say I had that ghost leg on the moneyline underdog parlay, and the Bucks were the one that didn't hit, but I don't know if people know about the ghost leg, but it essentially allows you to miss one leg on your bet, and then it will take that, void it out, recalculate the odds, and then you still win. So then there was one more. Right? Yeah, DraftKings, yeah. So there was one more too. I'm trying to blank on right now, but yeah, it was actually a solid weekend for me.
Yeah, I know that Bucks game. I didn't think I had a chance late. I teased it to 7.5, and they were down 2 possessions, the majority, and then they crept their way back into it. Ended up losing by 6. So snuck in the back door there. That was good. But let's get into this game over in Ireland. Steelers pull off the win. They go on to 3-1. What are your takeaways from this one?
That the Vikings game last week was not a fluke, but it's not that Wentz even really struggled. He just didn't look like he deserves to keep the job over JJ, which I know after 1 week there were those overreactions like, oh, maybe they should just keep Wentz in. JJ McCarthy doesn't look that good. It's like, well, you should pump the brakes. Maybe you should watch the film from the Steelers game, then tell me how you feel.
And I think the last week's game against Cincinnati is more of a reflection of who Cincinnati is right now
Oh yeah,
after them getting washed in Denver on Monday night.
yes,
So
very much so. But
great day for Kenneth Gainwell though. Jalen Warren was out. He
yes,
stepped in and he stepped up in a big way. And I mean, this guy's just kind of been a journeyman. He was backup running back in Philly for years. Pittsburgh signs him off the street as the backup to Warren, and he's instantly, played a role in that offense. Third down back, even when Warren was out, even when Warren was healthy, Gainwell was getting some snaps, and he's looked good with it. And he took full advantage on the day, averaging 5.2 yards a carry with a couple of touchdowns on the ground, and then also 6 catches for 35 yards receiving.
mm-hmm.
And then DK Metcalf obviously had a monster day, and we've just been waiting on that for him. Obviously, he had that long touchdown where Rodgers comes out of the huddle and he takes a little whiff of the smelling salts, and then he just whips it to DK. And once you get DK in open space like that, it's tough. It's tough to take him down, and it's tough to catch him once he gets going. So the Steelers, man, I don't know what to think of them. I really don't. After that game in New England last week when they should have lost, they could have easily lost week 1 against the Jets as well. And then, like we're talking about now, we don't really know what the Vikings are at this point. It's so early in the season to really know what these teams are, even with a record like 3-1. But hey,
Right,
3-1, they're at the top of that division right now. Baltimore's down, Cincinnati's down, Cleveland is what they are. So they're in the driver's seat right now.
yeah. With like you mentioned with Rodgers, it was in Dublin. Is it Dublin or Dublin?
Potato.
Tomato. Yeah, let's go Dublin. So it was an overseas game. I always take those with a grain of salt. Rodgers went 18 of 22. So it's like 82% completion percentage, 200 yards and a touchdown. I don't think he turned the ball over. So it's just a really efficient game from him. We finally saw them get DK going in the first half. Like most of DK's damage was all in the first half. And that's what we've been waiting to see. And then it was like the rest of the game, it kind of tapered off. But then I think, that was when they were trying to run the ball a little bit more and get some other guys mixed in. But from Minnesota's side of things, I really just love when they have Jordan Addison back. I think it opens up everything for Jefferson. I think you saw that the entire game. And it's just Jefferson's obviously one of the best receivers, arguably the best. And when he's got Addison on the other side, it just makes him that much more available. So it's going to be good things moving forward for Minnesota now that they got Addison back in the mix too. But yeah, it's just a good game from Rodgers, and Steelers were able to pull this one out.
And we haven't had a chance to speak, but I feel like we do need to talk a little bit about that Thursday night game from last week because it was great. And I don't really want to dive into the 2 Monday night games because they weren't great at all. So I feel like we should at least talk about that Thursday night game that happened between Seattle and Arizona. Seattle, I loved them going into that game based off of how their defense looks. Kyler been struggling. They couldn't get anything going. James Conner was out. It was their first game without him, and Kyler ended up leading the team in rushing on Thursday. So that's going to be an issue for them going forward. I like Trey Benson, but replacing James Conner is not easy. And we saw Marvin Harrison, that critical drop that turned into an interception early in that game. And we started texting each other because we had literally just got done talking about Marvin Harrison and his struggles. And then that happens. But second half, Arizona, they do what they do, man. They're a completely different team. Every single week, you don't know what to expect. And then Thursday, it was just 2 completely different halves where this team is just so inconsistent. You never know what to expect. They finally start playing football in the second half. They come back and make it a game. But Seattle pulls it off and they go to 3-1. Do you remember anything, any takeaways from that game?
Yeah. Now, I just want to point out when Pat asks if I remember anything from a game that was less than a week ago, it's because my brain is mush, and sometimes I tend to get a little rowdy, for the games, and I get into it. I mix it up, especially on Sundays. So I usually have to go back and reflect. But I do remember Marvin Harrison. That game was he got off to a shaky start. I put him in the same game parlay that I ended up hitting on for four plus catches, and when he got off to the start that he did, it was like I forget what route he ran. I think it was like a crossing route, and he kind of gave up on the route, and Kyler threw it thinking that he was going to keep going. Pick. I think that was their first or second drive. It was early. Next route, Marvin Harrison is going up the sideline on the right side, and he's supposed to, Kyler at least thinks he's going to cut it out, break it off, and head towards the sideline. Marvin Harrison just kept running down the field. Miscommunication. That one was just incomplete. And then the next ball was the one you referred to where it went right off his hands, picked off. So it was like really Kyler Murray's 2 interceptions were kind of on Marvin Harrison. In a way, if you can blame a receiver for an interception, those would be the ones. But he came back in a big way. That touchdown catch was huge. He ended up getting the 4 receptions, but you could just tell when he caught that touchdown, he was just like, thank you, God. And he just sat down there like on a knee, looking down. So we're actually really happy for him because there's nothing I hate more than having somebody who's so good and you just know they're good and they have all the potential in the world and the dominoes are not just falling their way. It just seems like everything's going against them and they're making these little mistakes that turn into big mistakes. And then you can see their confidence drop and then everyone's talking about it. I don't like that. And I'm glad that he bounced back. So that was big to see. There was one series I remember talking to you about. I didn't understand it. Cardinals at the end of the first half, they're down. They had like 30 something seconds. We know with the kickoff rules and the new, I don't want to say the new balls, but like it's not terribly hard to get into field goal range if you have 30 to 40 seconds with a timeout, which they did. I forget what happened the first couple plays, but then Kyler Murray gets sacked after they got a first down. He gets sacked. They have a timeout. They could have spent it with like 20-something seconds left, but instead they let it run down. They run another play, get like a 2 or 3 yard gain. And then, at that point, the crowd's kind of like, what the fuck? Looks like they're just going to let it tick down, go into the half down 2-3 possessions, whatever it was. And then they call their timeout with 2 seconds left. All right. So what are you going to do? Chuck it up? Maybe go just throw it in the end zone, get some points? No, they throw a wide receiver screen to Michael Wilson for 2 yards and a half. I was like, what a waste of a possession at the end of the half when you could have tried to get in the field goal range. And it looked like they blatantly didn't try. Should have used the timeout, didn't use it, called it with 2 seconds left when they should have just let the clock run out, and then they just throw a screen pass anyways. Just like, what the fuck are we doing? So make a long take shorter. The Cardinals ended up making it a game. I am starting to come around on Sam Darnold. I think that I wanted to see the longevity and I wanted to see him be consistent. And I think that he's shown that so far through 4 games. So not fully there yet. I don't know if I can start backing the Seahawks when they're given points yet, but I do like what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and speaking of kickoffs, they tie the game late, and then they kick it out of bounds, setting Seattle up at the 40. So, I mean,
just can't do that.
You can't because you're just, essentially 20 yards and teams in field goal range, and the game was over. Yeah. So just a awful mistake to end that game, but it ended up being a dandy in the end there. Let's move on to the 1 o'clock slate. It's officially Dart season, baby. Jackson Dart gets his first career dub, bringing instant juice to MetLife. That is the most juiced up that MetLife Stadium has been. I mean, you could count Rodgers, his first game against the Bills, that primetime game when he comes out with a flag. It was pretty juice, but obviously it didn't last long. But for Giants fans, this is the first time in, I'd say, 10 years that there has been, the atmosphere was, I mean, it was contagious, man. This kid, and I said it going into the draft, like wherever he goes, he's going to bring instant juice because he's one of those guys where he's willing to lay it all on the line. Like he's got like that Baker Mayfield in him where he's not afraid of anybody and he's willing to do whatever it takes to win. I mean, if you look at his stat line, it's not a great stat line. He just throws for 111 yards, 1 touchdown, and he also ran for 1. But you could just tell, like, it was contagious. The emotion that he brought, and it's complete opposite of Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's just like a robot. Jackson Dart, these dudes are going to want to follow him. And what does he do? He goes out, first career start, beats the undefeated Chargers, Justin Herbert. Don't get me wrong, their defense stepped up big in this game, played huge, and kept him in it the entire game. And they pretty much had a lead the whole way through. And then obviously Cam Scatterbo as well. What a pickup for them in the draft. You got those two guys, quarterback and running back, rookie duo. Scatterbo looks like a monster, dude. Speaking of not being afraid of anything, like that dude is seeking contact when he gets through the hole.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, these defenders are going to feel it quick with Scatterbo. Like he's bringing the heat when he's got the rock in his hand. So it's definitely got to be optimistic for Giants fans seeing that. Obviously, it's devastating when you get your first win and as high energy as it was, and Malik Neighbors goes down, tears his ACL. We got to talk about this turf at MetLife Stadium because I don't have the numbers in front of me, but this turf at MetLife has caused so many ACL and Achilles injuries over the years that it's unfathomable at this point that changes are not being made. Like there's literally a players union in place for situations like this where you're supposed to act and protect players. And year after year after year, we're watching these guys just blow out their knees or blow out their Achilles on this turf. Great players too. And nothing is being done about it. I just don't get it. It's like, oh, we care about player safety. We care about player safety. Shut the hell up. No, you don't. Because this turf has been a menace for years into great players. And now it's Malik Neighbors going down. And just what a devastating gut punch to him, to Giants fans. It's just at this point, there's no excuse. There's literally no excuse why something isn't being done about the playing surface there. It's like, oh, we're sending these guys overseas to play on all these like soccer fields and turf that they're not used to and like that the cleats aren't accustomed to. And it's like Goodell couldn't care less. He literally does not care. It's all about the moolah, and it's all about globalizing the NFL. Like this dude would be a great politician, I swear to God, because
that's what he is.
He just there's no empathy at all. And it's getting to a point now where it's like I'm getting sick just as a neutral fan. I'm sick of seeing it happen. But yeah, Mr. Steelio Girl gets his first dub over Justin Herbert. Obviously Herbert didn't play his best game.
Who gave him that nickname?
I did. Herbert didn't play his best game, but I'm not worried about the Chargers. I did have them as my survivor pool pick, so I'm done. I'm out relatively early in the season, but I'm still excited. I'm still excited about Jackson Dart being the quarterback there and not Russell Wilson. And then Quentin Johnston, another great game for him. We've been talking about it all season long. It's been nice to see him emerge. And then Omarion Hampton, I mean, the dude averaged almost 11 yards a carry.
Yeah.
Almost 11 yards a carry for Omarion Hampton on 12 carries. for $126 and a touchdown. So Chargers are going to be fine.
Yeah.
I know Joe Alt's banged up. I'm not sure what the status is on him, but they need him because Slater's already down. He was already filling in for Slater on the left side. So it's like once you start moving pieces around, and guys are in different spots and then they go down, you're counting on third string guys and guys that you got to bring in like off the practice squad and off the street. So I'm not sure what the status of Joe Alt is, but hopefully he'll be good to go.
And that's the wrong team to have your offensive linemen go down against. The Giants front seven. I mean, just their front four. It's hard to argue they're not the best in the league. They're definitely top 3.
Carter looks like a freak.
They're all freaks, every fucking one of them, and I hate them because they're in the Cowboys division. So I mean, you see all of them. I mean, I hope they trade Dexter Lawrence at some point this year just to get him out. But you pretty much touched on everything. The only couple things I wanted to note on the Charger side is I took them -6, put them in some parlays. I really think that this was a fluky win, given the 2 turnovers as well. Herbert had the one pass that I think Lawrence tipped it and picked it, and then he ran it down inside the 5-yard line, got tripped up. I think that happened again too. There was another turnover that LA had. The Giants ran it down inside the 5-yard line. So it was like 2 turnovers down inside the 5. I know at least on one of them, they were held to 3. I don't know if it was both, but either way, those were huge if you were on the Charger side of things at -6, or even money line, right? I feel like if those don't happen, Chargers win the game. Easy to say, though, I guess, if anybody, is turning the ball over. If you don't turn the ball over, you probably win the game. So either way, just a couple kind of fluky turnovers that really set the Giants up. And then Lad McConkey, they got to get him going. The Chargers have to get him going. I know Quentin Johnston's kind of his performance is allowing McConkey to kind of slide under the radar with his lack of productivity, but they got to get him going. I think if they want to sustain success, longevity, it starts with Lad. They don't have right now. I don't know who they really have at tight end. Nobody who's solidified, at least.
Gadsden, rookie out of Cuse. I picked him up in the Dynasty League. I think I'm expecting big things out of him in the future.
Well, that's good. That's good. Hopefully he can develop. But as of right now, nothing solidified there. Keenan Allen, we kind of know what his ceiling is at this point. In this offense, it's good. He's a good receiver, but again, I think we know what his ceiling is. Johnston, this is like a good, nice surprise that he's sustaining this for several weeks so far, but gotta get Lad going. They gotta get him going.
Agreed. Tennessee Titans, Houston Texans. So went on a rant last week about Brian Callahan's mismanagement with the clock in that game against the Colts. Did the whole "you're fired" spiel. I don't think there's any need to really waste that much time on this. I mean, the Titans are a mess, and I don't expect it to get any better due to their current structure. Cam Ward struggled mightily, finished the day with a 27.4 QBR, only completed 10 passes, and he also threw a pick. They're not getting Tony Pollard going. Calvin Ridley has been a ghost all season long. They brought him in last offseason, paid him all that money, and he's just been nowhere to be found. It looks like Io Manor is the number 1 target for Cam Ward, and I like the kid a lot, but I mean, he's not making Calvin Ridley money. Like, this was their big free agent acquisition, and the dude is just nowhere to be found. Houston side of things, I think it's optimistic to see how Stroud played. He was a lot more efficient. The offense got going, and Woody Marks brought some juice, and I mentioned this last week that they just needed something. They needed something, like someone to come in and just bring some life to the offense. And this was the week. This was the week for Woody Marks. They really gave him the role of being RB1. I mean, Chubb still finished with 13 carries, but you could just see the explosiveness and the shiftiness of Marks. And it's like once he gets going, man, he's quick. He's very dynamic with the ball in his hands, catching or receiving. So that's very promising to see for Houston. But again, Tennessee's a mess right now. So I don't want to overreact to this game. I don't want to even talk about this game all that much. Houston's still got, quite the hill to climb with the schedule that they got coming up. So any thoughts on this one?
No. Nope. Nada.
Free Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
Moving on. Washington Commanders, Atlanta Falcons. Talked about Arizona being arguably the most inconsistent team in the league. I mean, this Atlanta Falcons team, I'm done. Any game that they're involved in, I'm not putting any money on just because I have no idea. I mean, they go out last week in Carolina and get blown out, completely shut down by Carolina's defense. Penix doesn't look good at all. And then this week, their offense is humming against a good Washington team. I mean, this is what you want to see if you're a Falcons fan. I mean, Bijan had a monster day. Drake London has a monster day. Kyle Pitts has a great day. He gets on the board with a touchdown. And Penix is very efficient. He just looked like a completely different quarterback this week from last week. He finished the day going 20 for 26 for 313 yards, 2 touchdowns, did throw 1 pick. And then, I mean, even on the ground, Algier got going as well and scored a touchdown. So this Atlanta offense was really humming. And I don't think this game was really as close as what the score shows us. Atlanta had a good grasp on the lead, and then Washington made a run late in the game and scored. But like I said, I don't know what to expect from this Atlanta team, from Penix on a week-to-week basis. From Washington's side of things, it is really interesting to me, this running back by committee, where it's like they got Rodriguez, McNichols, and like these guys are getting carries, and they drafted Krosky Merritt, and it's like you kind of expected him to take over that RB1 role down, but I mean, they're all getting carries right now. They both finished the day with each 7 carries. And that led the team. So maybe run the ball a little more if you're Washington. I know they were down early in the game, but still, they kind of abandoned the run early in that game. And I know both those guys had some good bursts on some carries. So I'm not overreacting to this game at all. Like I said, Atlanta, I don't know what to expect. Washington, I mean, they're still playing with Mariota. Like, they don't even have Jaden back yet, and they're still competing on the road, in a tight game. And I mean, they're very functional. They're very functional teams, even still with Mariota. So I'm excited about this Washington team going forward. When Jaden gets back, I think this team can make some noise, just as they did last year. From Atlanta side of things, man, I'm done. I've given up guessing or pretending to expect what they're going to do out there on Sundays.
I stayed very far away from this game for just that reason. And also, like, I've never been able to gauge Mariota. I feel like every time I bet on him, I bet on the wrong side. So I did stay away from this one, and I think you have to be encouraged. Like you mentioned, if you're Washington, the way the offense looks with Mariota, I feel like you're guaranteed to take a step forward when Jaden comes back. And I think, Mariota is also mobile. So I don't want to say that when Jaden comes back, it's going to open up that run game a little more. But I feel like it will. I don't know. I just feel like once Jaden comes back, you're going to start to see these backs get a little more efficient, a little more touches. Like, I think it just opens the offense up a little more. But defensively, is they got to figure some things out, like that swing pass to Bijan that he took for like 70 yards and got tackled inside the 5 or whatever.
Nowhere to be found. Yeah.
Yeah, you get like you got to put a helmet on a helmet. I don't really know what else to say. Like those are the things that I think they figure out because I have faith in Dan Quinn. Unlike a lot of other defensive coaches out there, I don't have a ton of faith in some, but Dan Quinn I do to get things going. And again, it's not like it's his first year here, so yeah, this was just kind of I think what I want to say what you expected, but like just a I don't know. I don't have much to say, I guess, on it. I also didn't get a great look at this game. I still got to go back and watch it, but it's really all I got on it.
New Orleans Saints, Buffalo Bills. Bills pull it out after. I mean, majority of this game, you had to be biting fingernails if you're a Bills fan because if Spencer Rattler and Kellen Moore went into their house and pulled off a dub, that would have been an atrocity in Buffalo. And I mean, credit to New Orleans, they did not lay down. They were like 16 point, 15 and a half point dogs going into that game. And the fact that, they were hanging with Buffalo. And then they try to run their own version of like the Philly special where I think it was Olave who tried throwing it into traffic to Rattler in the red zone, and Buffalo picks it off. And it's just like, if you could have gotten points on that possession, who knows what would have happened. But I feel like that was a huge momentum swing, game-changing play perhaps in that game that you were like, okay, this isn't going to happen. It was unfortunate because I was really pulling for New Orleans going down the stretch there to make it interesting.
Yeah.
And then Rattler, man, he missed that post throw to Brandon Cooks when the defender falls down in the end zone. He makes his cut and he's sitting there wide open in the end zone. Rattler threw it way behind him. And at first it looked like Cooks might have caught it, but it hit the ground. That was just an awful ball that he threw. And that's one you have to make. If you're playing quarterback in the NFL, you got to make that throw. So that's two plays that are going to haunt New Orleans, because I mean, now you're sitting at 0-4, your season's basically over. But if you could have pulled this off, maybe if those two plays went differently, who knows what that could have done for you. So any takeaways from this one?
No, just those big, the big misses there. The Bills always seem to, for some reason, play down to their competition. And it's just another classic example of that. And I don't know if this is like a Josh Allen thing where he is just not as focused and engaged because he knows that, like, he's very aware. Like, he knows I think everybody is, right, that they're heavy favorites and everything. And he just, I don't know, sometimes he's just not as crisp against these, I don't want to call them lesser teams, but yeah, they are, right? Like, he's not as crisp, he's not as sharp as he is against, some of the better teams in the league, like Baltimore, or, Kansas City, when they play those, those kind of teams. So just, I don't know. I guess when we saw the number, what was the line at? 14 and a half?
I think it went down before kickoff to 14 and a half. Yeah.
It was even higher. Yeah. I don't know. I
To
feel
start the week, it was higher.
It's just a crazy high amount of points. And I mean, also the Saints had more rush yards than they did passing yards. And I feel like that's kind of weird for a team that loses.
Miller looks good. I mean, if
did.
they end up freeing Kamara and opening it up Miller, I think, has got a good future ahead of him.
That's why I had Miller on the dynasty, and then I had to let him go because he wasn't getting anything done, and he was hurt all last year.
Yeah,
when he came back, he wasn't efficient, but so nobody better snag him. I want him back. But weird. I don't want to say a weird game, but like,
I think psychologically, the Bills are so used to playing in these massive games, a lot of them prime time too. I think psychologically, it even happens to Baltimore too. I mean, we saw Baltimore almost lose to Cleveland a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Or I just think, and they also lost. I think it was the Raiders who beat them in their house last year. So they're another team that kind of plays down on their opponents. I think psychologically, it does do something to you when you're going into those games where you can be a little sleepy, especially early on. And I think that was certainly the case. Philadelphia Eagles go on the road to Tampa, get the dub 31-25 to move to 4-0. Tampa falls to 3-1. Just another example of the Eagles finding a way. Late in the game, things can get a little the pressure could start mounting up, but they always just somehow find a way to get it done. AJ Brown, I've given up in fantasy. Like every time I put him on my bench, he goes off. Every time I start him, he disappears. So that's something they certainly got to figure out in Philly. I thought the design on the tush push counter, that was great. I mean, and you have to mix that in. You have to mix that in if you are the Eagles, just to keep defenses more honest. And I mean, Barkley, as soon as he got to the edge, there was just nobody there. It was probably the easiest touchdown of his career. So that's a play that sticks out to me. Obviously, Tampa, they're not going to quit. Baker's never going to quit. Made it a game late, had an opportunity to go down the field and score to tie it. What sticks out to me, Tyler, is that critical interception on first down. It might have been first and goal. They were definitely in scoring territory, and he was rolling to his right, and he tried fitting a ball in on the right side of the end zone, and he got picked off. That's really what sticks out to me in this game, where if you could have found a way to, just throw that ball out of bounds, see what happens after that, not force anything, this game might have ended up differently for Tampa. But those are the things that stick out to me.
Yeah. Doesn't Philly just kind of feel like this year's Philly team feels like last year's Chiefs in a way?
Yeah. Or the Eagles team from 2 years ago, I believe it was. Yeah.
Yeah, just always. Was that when they started like 10 or 11-0?
Yeah, I think they were 9-1 at one point, but
Or
it
something
was
like
all
that.
like the one possession games, just like the Chiefs last year.
Yeah. Yep. I feel like every time I bet Eagles Bucks, I'm on the wrong side because this game, it just felt so familiar. I feel like it was either a game last year or the year before when I bet on them, and it was like that one game that fucked the parlay. It's just like every time I bet Eagles Bucks, I'm wrong every time. But I will say, when I saw that blocked punt for a touchdown right off the rip, I just had a bad feeling. I was like, this is not going to go the way that I thought it was going to go. And what the fuck is up with Philly? 2 block field goals last week, block punt this week. Who's their special teams coordinator?
They're balling. That special teams is balling.
What resources does he have? I want to know who he knows. Philly's always up to some shisty shit. So,
I mean, they're 4-0.
Fuck them.
And you put 31 points on the board on the road against a really good Bucks team. Barkley doesn't even have 50 yards rushing. The Bucks held him to 2.3 yards per carry. And this is 2 weeks in a row where Barkley's been shut down. And then receiving, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown combined for 4 catches for 36 yards. And they still won. They still put up 31 points. And it makes you wonder, like you said, I don't know. It's really hard to wrap your head around. They always find a way, blocked field goals, blocked punts, defense shows up big, makes a play when they have to. And you can't really chalk it up as a fluke at this point because we just see it time and time again where they find a way to win. But the Bucks are going to be fine. Once they get healthy, especially on offense, they're going to have, weapons up the arse. And I'm really excited for that Tampa team going forward. And I don't expect anybody in that division to challenge them in the long run.
It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's the turnovers, but you look at that. I think the Bucks doubled them up in yardage. I think they had over 400 total yards. and the Philly
Yeah.
had maybe just over 200. So yeah, but hey, you got to give kudos where they're due. Great teams find ways to win in ugly games, and it seems like that's what Philly's doing.
Buka looks like a lock too for rookie of the year right now. Cleveland Browns go on the road, and they get washed in Detroit. We were telling people, be a little careful betting against Cleveland. We talked about it the last 2 weeks just because of how that defense has played. But I mean, this as a defense, man, you can only do so much when your offense is going out there and it's just 3 and out, fucking Flacco throwing up air balls to nobody in the area. That one pass that he threw, there was nobody in the area to the left sideline, and Kirby Joseph is just, it was like a punt. He was just waiting for it, and he catches it up against the sideline. That was one of the worst NFL throws I've ever seen in my life. So Cleveland's defense has been balling, yeah, and they're a great unit. But you can only do so much when it's like, okay, we get a stop, and then we go sit down, and we're right back on the field, and we're right back on the field, and we're right back on the field. Like, that shit takes a toll eventually. And obviously the Lions are a great team, and it got to a point where they just kind of opened it up. Looking at the stats, yeah, Flacco had an awful day. He finished with a QBR of 12.6, 16 to 34 for $184.
Is that good?
With 2 picks. It's awful. They didn't get anything going. Judkins had a decent day on the ground, but when you're playing behind, you got to throw the ball, and they couldn't do it. Goff played decent, not a great game for him, but he did enough to win. And then Gibbs had a big day on the ground. This is another game I don't feel like we have to spend too much time on.
Yeah, did Cedric Tillman get hurt too?
I didn't see that.
Yeah. Either way, it's just another weapon down.
Who's the one? Bond? He's the emerging receiver for them that's really stepped up.
Well, I think so, but I don't know too much about him. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, really not much to say on this. This was the one game I threw in that I don't want to call it the super teaser, but there was a teaser parlay I threw in. It was 3 legs basically to get you like plus 150 or something like that. It was the Saints, tease them from like 14.5 to 21.5. The Steelers from 2.5 to 8.5. So that was a hit. And then the Browns from 10 to 17. And they obviously couldn't cover that. So they fucked me.
Carolina Panthers, after a monster win at home last week against Atlanta, they went into this game as 5-point dogs, which was kind of intriguing going at New England. And, they went right up. They went down the field, scored. They got that touchdown on Tommy Tremble. They're up. And then Marcus Jones gets that punt return. I think it was like 87 yards. Takes it to the house for New England. And then from that point forward, they just never looked back. It was just all New England after that. Drake May had a great game, played very efficient. And, we could talk about Carolina's defense being what it is, but, I mean, they made life hell for another second-year quarterback last week in Penix. So I think it was definitely a promising game for Drake May. He finished 14 to 17 for 203 and a couple of touchdowns. He was just very efficient. And I feel like it's only going to get better for just like Caleb in Chicago. And we're going to get to them. They had a very sloppy first half. But when you're meshing these, they're just sophomores in this league. They're just sophomore QBs like Caleb, Drake, Penix, Nix, JJ, all these guys. You got new play callers as well. So it's not just you're learning, the ins and outs of playing quarterback in the NFL, but it's a completely new system. Mm-hmm. And I feel like between May and McDaniels, it's only going to get better week by week. And I feel like McDaniels called a great game in this, and he really set Drake May up for success. And he's going to need that. He's going to need all the help he can get. I think Diggs finally coming onto the scene was just huge to see. And we talked about it last week. It's like, where's Stefon Diggs? Where has he been? Like, nowhere to be found. Well, we finally got some Stefon Diggs action. He had 6 catches for over 100 yards. And then Hunter Henry had it was like a 31-yard touchdown. And he's a big target that Drake really likes as well. You would like to see their run game get going a little better between Stevenson and Henderson and Gibson. And, I guess we're just going to have to keep begging for Travion Henderson to get touches week to week, because it's not happening right now. He had 2 catches and then 7 carries. So we love to see some more Travion Henderson if you're listening, New England. But Carolina, man, I don't know. Like, you feel so good about them after their win last week. And you're like, all right, there might be something here. And then they go out and they just lay an egg in New England.
Yeah, I don't know why this just popped in my head. I've actually never thought of this. But I feel like some of the inconsistent teams that are not awful, like, I don't know, I feel like Carolina, when you think of them, you don't think right off the bat like, oh, awful team. They're not good, but I don't think they're awful. They got nice pieces. I like McMillan. I think, Panthers fans can be optimistic about him, moving forward. He looks like a really good young receiver. Obviously, what did they take him, like 9th or 12th overall or whatever it was? But what I was getting to is like these inconsistent teams that are not awful. It's almost like relatable to golf, right? When you have a golfer who's like plus, I'm talking about average Joes like us, right? Not professionals. Average Joe schmoes who are like a plus 16-ish, plus 18 handicap, right? Where they can go out there and have a good day. They can shoot in like the low to mid 80s. And then you just have your rounds where you're shooting like mid high 90s. You might even touch 100 if you're having a bad day. That's like the Panthers to me. They're like that. On a good day, they're shooting those, low to mid 80 rounds. And on a bad day like this one, they look like they're really bad. So I hope that analogy makes sense to somebody. It does to me. And I don't know why it popped in my head, but your really good teams are like your scratch golfers, like they're always going to be right around par. They might have one bad round here and there, but it's not like really, really bad. So yeah, I don't know. I really don't have much to say on the game other than my analogy.
All right, let's get into the 4:00 window. Indianapolis Colts, LA Rams. I feel like the football gods made up for last week. As a Rams fan, I feel like last week that was a game we should have won. And this week against the Colts was definitely a game that we should have lost. They get that play to A.D. Mitchell where he burns the defense, makes a great catch, fantastic catch. And then just awful mistake. He pulls the Deshaun Jackson and he fumbles it before he crosses the goal line. And that is a massive swing in that game. And then on top of that, Jonathan Taylor has an amazing run where he breaks tackles, spin moves, takes it to the house, and that gets called back. So those are 2 plays that if you're a Colts fan, it's just making you sick. But, credit to Indianapolis, because this was really like a barometer game for me personally. I was like, all right, I know you're 3-0, but I'm not convinced. So I want to see you, against a team that we know is a pretty good football team. And they went on the road, and man, they were in it. And it looked like they were going to come out on top. And then, like I said, those 2 plays were just critical. Cam Curl, massive day for him. Gets a couple picks. Stafford was absolutely balling. Puka had a monster game. He finished with 170 yards on 13 catches. And Stafford finished the day with 375 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. And then Devontae also has a touchdown, and then they get that deep ball to Tutu late. The game's tied up, less than 2 minutes left, and Stafford throws a dime. I know there was the defender, I don't know if it was a miscommunication or whatever, but You can't give Tutu Atwell too much space, and he's usually due for a couple of those a season. You're not going to see the volume from him, but there will be some games where he makes, he'll burn a defense and take it to the house. So definitely exciting win as a Rams fan to move to 3-1 in a ultra competitive division. Colts, like I said, this team is for real. I think that between them and Jacksonville right now, it's going to be really interesting going down the stretch, and we're going to get to the Jags, but this was just a great football game, honestly.
Yeah, and I think for anyone who could have or was doubting Indianapolis, I think the last 2 weeks should have pretty much solidified them as like a legit team, no matter if it's Danny Dimes under center or not, right? Denver defense, they played pretty well, beat Denver. The Rams, we all know Rams are legit, and they played the Rams really tough. Even, like you mentioned, those 2 plays, the Taylor touchdown that got called back, and then is it Adani or Adonai?
I think it's Adani, yeah.
Adani. The Adani Mitchell thing, and he wasn't like showboating, right? Like he was just trying to take the ball out, and then he like fumbled it.
Yeah.
So that's just tough. It's a tough fucking break. And then to still be tied though, 2020 with 2 minutes left in the game, like it just goes to show, Indy's legit. And unless things just take a huge turn for the worst, I think that we're going to be talking a lot about Indy this year, and kind of just happy for Daniel Jones, dude. Just happy for him. He gets out of New York, and first it was Saquon getting out of New York. He balled out in Philly. Danny Dimes gets out of New York. Now he's doing his thing in Indy. So happy for him. But yeah, that was a really good game.
Moving on to a team that is playing those Rams on Thursday Night Football. San Francisco 49ers take their first loss of the season in Brock Purdy's return to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So this is the other AFC South, NFC West matchup. Jags go on the road and get a massive win to go to 3-1. 26-21 was the score. The forgotten man in Duval, Travis Etienne, is officially back. What a day for him. He finished the day with 19 carries for $124, averaging 6.5 yards a carry and a touchdown. And it's like we saw them trade Bigsby. We saw him draft Tootin. We didn't know if Tootin would eventually take over as the back because Etienne has been so banged up year after year that you just kind of forgot about him. But we're getting reminded just who Travis Etienne is. He looked very explosive against that Niners defense. Very promising to see. What I'm more impressed with, honestly, though, is Jacksonville's defense. Like, this is a unit that's for real. I've been talking about it that I thought they were overperforming, but they might just, at this point, they just might be like a pretty good unit. And they're getting pressure. Their secondary, which has been absolute garbage these last couple of years, has really stepped up. So, I mean, credit to Liam Cohen, credit to his staff. And I know there was a little debacle at the end of the game with the handshakes were going on. Liam Cohen and Robert Salah were going at it. I don't know if you saw that, but apparently it was about like sign stealing or like the motioning that he was doing. That he said they were just. They said they're is so good at it that it's almost illegal, and it's like, man, that's what the great offensive minds in this league do, though. And where does he learn that? He learns it like that comes straight from McVay. Liam Cohen is from that tree. And if you watch the Rams play, you're going to see McVay is going to send guys in motion every single play so that you can get a read on the defense and what set they're in and where guys are going to go based off of your formation. So that's just, I mean, it's totally legal. And the fact that more teams aren't doing it in the NFL nowadays blows my mind because it gives you a clear advantage before the play. It tells you, where guys are going to be in certain sets. So, I mean, Jacksonville is just a completely different team, completely different culture right now. It's got to be exciting for them.
Hashtag Connor Stallions. Cut my boy some slack. No scandal. It's just what people do. Part of the game.
This was the full. You got the full Brock Purdy experience in this one too. You saw the really good, you saw the really bad, and I just feel like that's what Brock Purdy is at this point, where it's like he can be efficient, he can make some great plays, and then he can get a little loosey goosey and make some key errors. So yeah, he threw a couple touchdowns, couple picks. He did throw for over 300 yards, but I mean, those interceptions will kill you. McCaffrey got held at 2.9 yards on the ground. So again, that Jags defense between secondary and that run defense, pass rush, everything looks solid. And the 49ers, man, I don't know how long. I think Ayuk's got 1 or 2 more weeks where he's going to be out, but the receiving core is it's kind of tough to watch right now with Ayuk and Kittle being down. It's like we thought Pearsall, we've seen glimpses of Ricky Pearsall being like, oh, I could be a number 1 or, a number 2. But I mean, there was nowhere to be found. McCaffrey was their leading receiver once again with 6 catches for 92 yards. So
dude, they're gonna run him into the ground again. Like that's the thing. He has to be getting 25 to 30 touches a game for them to win or at least be close, but that's the thing. When you have McCaffrey, that's what you want. It's just you're timid. Well, they're clearly not, but I would be just with his injury history. But yeah, I had Jacksonville in the money line underdog parlay. So I just Jacksonville makes these kind of games like scrappy, and they can pull out the ugly ones. And as you mentioned, their defense is playing well right now. And the 49ers, just being a little banged up, I feel like this was a good spot for Jacksonville to steal one in San Fran too. So
Baltimore Ravens fall to 1-3 on the road in Kansas City. And it was not the game that we expected. We expected this one to be a classic between these two teams, and it just wasn't. Lamar struggled. I mean, maybe Kansas City is just as kryptonite at this point, where things just don't seem to work out for him or the Ravens. But and then he gets banged up, so Cooper Rush has to come into the game. Not only that, though, Derrick Henry got held at 42 yards on the ground, and he only had 8 carries because, they had been trailing. Xavier Worthy comes back for Kansas City and instantly brings that offense juice that they've been lacking majorly. He had 2 carries for 38 yards, and then he was a leading receiver with 5 catches for 83 yards. And at this point, as long as he's healthy, it's only going to get better and better in Kansas City because Rashee Rice is waiting in the wings. So once you get Rice back in that offense with Worthy, they're going to start clicking, I'm telling you. And Mahomes, he had a good day. He had 4 touchdowns, 270 yards passing, 25-37. I mean, when Mahomes has help, like that's what you can expect from him. But it's like when he's throwing to Juju Smith-Schuster as his number 1 on a week-to-week basis, like, yeah, he's going to struggle. And who isn't going to struggle at that point not to mention their run game still isn't getting going. Worthy was their leading rusher. Pacheco had 7 carries for 35 yards. And I know this is going to make you mad. He had 7 carries. Kareem Hunt had 13, and he doubled Kareem Hunt's average on the ground. So that's very interesting to me. And I know you're going to keep touching on that, is why they keep giving Kareem Hunt the carries that should be Pacheco's. But massive win for Kansas City to get to 2-2. That's back-to-back wins for them now. Maybe they could start a run right now. It's still early in the season for them to make a lot of noise. And Baltimore is in trouble. They're 1-3. Lamar Jackson's questionable now going into this week in a game where you feel like you have to win. You can't fall to 1-4. So scary situation in Baltimore.
This was the last thing I expected in this ball game. I did not even consider Baltimore losing by more than one possession. So I was very, very wrong on this one. And yeah, it's going to be, if you're Baltimore, you almost need Lamar to play next week. Because I can tell you this, Cooper Rush, I've seen him do it. He's not going to get you the W. Cooper Rush is not going to go out there and win you a ball game. He's just not. And I don't know if anybody watched him in that game and was like, oh, wow, maybe this guy, I don't know, maybe he can make some plays for us. No, he can't. I'm telling you, he does not. He's a professional backup for a reason. Not to hate on him. He can do okay. He can do okay. I won't shit on him completely, but you can't be confident if he's your starter next week. So a 1-4. If Lamar Jackson does not play, I fully expect Baltimore to be 1-4 going into week 6.
They're playing Houston this week. So that's pretty much, that's like an elimination game.
Yeah.
2-1-3 teams that were division favorites, in their respective divisions. And one of them's going to fall to 1-4. That's crazy.
Both, and each of those teams are on very different sides of that momentum meter. Houston and now, albeit against Tennessee, but Houston coming off of 30-0 shutout or something like that. And generally pretty healthy. And then you got the other side of things with Baltimore off a bad loss. Lamar Jackson banged up, just doesn't look good. So excited to preview that one here coming up later this week. But Pacheco, I don't know. I'm no fucking running back guru, but I know what I see. And I don't know, maybe he fucking doesn't know how to pick up blocks and he gets confused, or maybe he's inconsistent with certain coverages. I don't know. But when I see Pacheco run the ball, I like what I see. The other guys, I don't get it. So I don't know, whatever.
Finishing the afternoon slate, Chicago Bears go on the road, get a win over the Raiders, 25-24, in what was an absolute shit show slop fest, especially in the first half. Man, I went back and watched it. That was some tough football to watch. Like I said, it was just an absolute slop fest. Geno Smith, you're going to get a few of these games from him on a year-to-year basis where it's just like, dude, what are you doing? And I want to go through his stats. He finished with a 25 QBR, 3 interceptions, 14-21 for $117. And I mean, this is who Geno Smith can be at times. And I want to ask, is it more a reflection of him or the Bears defense stepping up? But I feel like the answer is just, like I said, Geno Smith, he's due for a few of these games on a year-to-year basis. And it's like, credit to Kevin Byard. Kevin Byard had the day of his life. I know he got a game ball, and he should have, because he made some critical plays for them. But I don't really want to overreact to Chicago. It's like, yeah, it was great. You came down and you scored when you needed to. Like, Caleb led them down the field, and they went ahead late in that game. You get the win on the road, which is a hard thing to do. It's always a great thing to win on the road. And the Raiders are a functional team now with Pete Carroll, but I feel like this was a lot of Geno just giving this game away. This was a tough watch. Gentry's run was great, though. It was really good to see him finally get on the scene. He's been quiet first 3 weeks of the season, but he finished the day 21 carries for $138, averaging 6.6 yards a carry. You'd like to see more production still out of Brock Bowers. I mean, I'm going to keep preaching this on a week-to-week basis. He did lead the team in receiving, but it's just 5 catches for 46 yards, and he's clearly their best weapon, and they're just not getting him the ball like they should.
The best player.
Chicago's side of things, I think that there's a real issue with DJ Moore right now.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like how we talked about with Philly and their passing game between AJ and Devontae. I think that there's something going on behind the scenes in Chicago with DJ Moore. Obviously, it's great to see Odunze doing what he's doing. Once again, he went out there and he balled out and he made great game-changing plays for Chicago, and he's continued to do that throughout the year. And you love to see that because you invested a high pick in him last year. Like, that's great. But it would be nice to get some DJ Moore action as well because, with all due respect to Odunze, looking at this team before the season, like DJ should be your number one. And week to week, I don't have all the game-to-game stats, but just being a fantasy owner of DJ Moore, I know it hasn't been good this season. It's been very, very quiet. So from their side of things, I would like to see more DJ Moore. I'd also like to see him be able to run the ball better. I mean, Swift finished the day with 2.7 yards per carry, and I know that they upgraded that offensive line in the offseason, and I know Ben Johnson can scheme for the running game. Like, I know that for a fact. So I think there might be a DeAndre Swift issue at this point. I mean, I know he had that touchdown run. That's great. But I don't know, maybe Monogany, get him more involved. I think Roshan is hurt, but maybe give the rookie some more touches because I think he runs the ball a lot better than Swift does at this point. And then I know Loveland was out. There's another guy. It's like I'd love to see some more Loveland once he gets healthy. And Cole Kmet has seemed to be struggling so far. So I feel like Chicago, that's a great win, getting it on the road. They've been moving on to 2-2. That's awesome. But there's definitely some things to be worked out on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, to touch on or really kind of reiterate what you said, the run game has to get going. And that's going to open everything up for the pass game. That's just the way it goes. If you can be efficient on the ground, it opens up the pass game. I know that didn't really happen for the Raiders, even though Genti had $120. I mean, a lot of it came on the one run, but still he was efficient. Geno just kind of stunk. He had a dud week. It is what it is. He'll bounce back. But with the Bears, yeah, you don't spend a first-round pick on a tight end where they did to not utilize him. I know he was hurt this week, but moving forward, yes, him and DJ Moore, like, they got to get more involved. And I feel from my perspective, I don't know. Is this Caleb just not getting through his progressions the way he should? Are they just not getting as involved as they should be from a game plan and play calling perspective? I would think not, but I don't know. I think that, again, the season's young. It's a whole new offense for everybody. I expect things to keep getting marginally better week to week. But as a positive, when things don't look good and you still pull out the win, it's big. So big win for the Bears on the road. Gotta get these guys involved, though, especially DJ Moore.
In the Raiders, it's put up or shut up time for them.
Yeah.
Capping off this recap, an absolute classic that we did not see coming. No. Sunday Night Football. Micah Parsons returned to Dallas. This game was incredible, man. 40-40 ends in a tie. McManus hits the field goal in overtime to force the tie. First of all, I mean, we don't have to reiterate what everybody else on TV was already talking about. It's like professional athletes, they should never end a game in a tie. Like, yeah. we could have that conversation, but I think that's just a given. Going into the game, though, it was a pleasure to watch this game. And it was a game I didn't expect to be engaged in for 4 quarters like I was, or not more than 4 quarters, 4 quarters and an overtime, full overtime. So what are your takeaways from your Dallas Cowboys and how they competed?
I think it was great to get Pickens. Like this game was huge without CD, for Pickens to come in and do what he did. It I think it speaks volumes to the kind of player that he is and he can be, and why Dallas traded for him. So when they do have him and CD on the field at the same time, it can be very dangerous. Another consistent, good, solid week for Javonte Williams, who I've been impressed with so far this season, because I said it before the season started that I didn't expect him to keep his job past week like 6 or 8. I figured Jaden Blue would be getting some touches, and halfway through the year, they would have seen enough out of both of these guys to be like, all right, let's just give Jaden Blue the rock and let him run with the starting job. But that has been the opposite. Javante's looked really good. The offensive line even banged up. No Booker, no BB. They held their own. The offenses look good. And with a healthy Dak Prescott, that's what I expect. When you have a solid offensive line, Dak is, in my opinion, a top 10 quarterback. And sure, you can throw maybe a couple guys ahead of him, call him top 12, whatever. He's right there. And when he's on, he's on. He's really good. And this was one of those games. He had a great day. But on the flip side, their defense had another bad game. Are we surprised? No. Are we disappointed? Well, at least me. Yes. This would have been a huge win for them to get at home with Micah coming back. They did well containing Micah Parsons. He did have a big. It did count as a sack. It went in the books as a sack late in that game that I think forced. It was the overtime drive that I think. It was a second down play where Dak, if Parsons didn't catch him, he had a chance to score. And then I think he sacked him, and then they threw it away the next play and kicked the field goal. So, yeah, it was a big play, and it was really a great game. I'm not gonna lie, I was watching it, and there were certain times where, like, in between on commercial breaks, I started to doze off, and then it'd come back, and I'd like have my eyes half open, and then a big play, and I'd be like, oh shit, all right. And then I start sitting up a little bit in the bed, and it was just play after play after play. Especially once you got in the fourth quarter, it was like back and forth, lead changes. It was just not what we expected, but a pleasant surprise none the least. And as a Dallas fan, you walk out of there with a tie, and you can't be upset.
Let's look ahead to these lines, just see if anything sticks out to us. I got DraftKings pulled up right now. You got it up for you?
Yeah, I can pull that up real quick.
All right, just looking into this, I saw Cleveland plus 3.5 at home against Minnesota, and that instantly jumped out to me. But what I forgot was it's the international game, so it's not going to be in the dog pound. I would have been all over Cleveland if that game was in Cleveland, but I'm just going to shy away from that. The over-under for that, Tyler, is 36.5. So they're expecting it to be – they're expecting that game to be real ugly. Yeah. I'm not touching that. I do want to move on, though. Personally, one that sticks out to me, the Giants going to New Orleans as 2.5-point dogs. I think that the Giants might find themselves in my money dog parlay. That sticks out to me. I do like the Giants plus 2.5 on the road, and it's mainly because New Orleans really struggles to stop the run. And I think Scatabo and Jackson Dart, both on the ground, can dice them up. And I just don't feel great about the Saints.
In what world are the Saints a favorite?
They don't. See, the issue with the Giants, and we didn't talk about this, was with Neighbors going down, they're really going to struggle to find production on the edge from these receivers. But to me, I will take them as a dog in New Orleans all day, simply because of that defense and their run game. I think that they can really expose New Orleans' run defense. So that's one that sticks out to me. I like the Giants plus 2.5.
I do not think that line is going to stay there. I think that's going to move
hop on it.
Yeah.
Hop on it.
I was going to say, just real quick, the one that sticks out to me is the first game of the week. It's that Thursday game. Niners are getting 6.5 points on the road against the Rams. So the Rams are clearly the favorite, but getting 6.5 on a short week. That's the biggest thing with the Thursday night games. Short weeks, you don't have a ton of time to prepare. They're division opponents. They know each other really well. I just think that at 6.5 points there, especially because the Niners do have Brock Purdy. They do have McCaffrey. Obviously, they won't have Ayuk and Kittle, but 6.5 is a lot for that game. So that is one that, again, sticks out to me, and I would take the points there.
I would agree. Baltimore Ravens at home with Lamar Jackson. You have to remember he's questionable right now. Status is up in the air. This line is going to move if he's deemed playing. So right now, if you can get Baltimore, they're plus 1.5. They are the underdog at home against the Houston Texans. So that is a risk that I'm probably willing to take, because if Lamar plays, that line is most certainly going to move. That sticks out to me.
Yeah. The Cowboys, they're playing in New York at the Jets. Kind of an interesting game because of how the Jets offense works. And I think that, so I'm not even looking at the spread. It's 2.5. Cowboys are 2.5 point favorites, but the total points are sitting at 47.5. The way the Cowboys offense is humming right now, and how bad their defense is, and the Jets with Fields in that run game, I think can just create a ton of problems. I don't think Dallas is really going to be able to contain Fields. And as long as the Jets defense can keep them from going down 2-3 possessions, then I think the Jets are going to run all over Dallas. So that total, to me, I don't know. I'm tempted to take the over on that.
Carolina is a 1.5 point dog at home against Miami. I know people are probably feeling good about Miami coming off that win against the Jets on Monday night. I think this is another one that could find themselves in a money dog parlay. I just put it together. The 3 dogs that I've already mentioned: Giants on the road in New Orleans, Ravens at home, hoping Lamar plays, and then Panthers at home. You pair those 3 up, that's plus 728. So that's something I might have to hop on tonight. And then just hope that Lamar plays. And if he doesn't, hey, maybe Cooper Rush could pull something out of his arse.
Doubt it. So another one, Detroit on the road in Cincinnati, 10-point favorites at this point. How do you not take the Lions at -10? Cincinnati cannot figure it out offensively. Detroit's defense is actually playing well. And Cincinnati's not going to be able to stop them.
I'm curious to see if that goes up throughout the week.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. I thought that the Sunday night and Monday night games, both of those lines I actually like. Patriots in Buffalo, they're getting 7.5 points in Buffalo. I think that's a lot for the way that New England's playing right now. I think that's a lot of points to be, given them. I know Buffalo plays great at home, but I don't know. 7.5, I feel like, is a lot there. And then the Jags, Monday night at home, Kansas City's in town, and they're 3.5 point dogs at home, coming off a big win. So that's another interesting line to me. But yeah, it's kind of what sticks out.
From that game, honestly, I kind of like the under 46.5. I just think with the way that Jacksonville's defense plays and the Chiefs defense being what it is, I think that this could be a lot more of a defensive battle than people think. So under 46.5, that sticks out to me. And then, yeah, maybe the Jags find themselves in the money dog parlay as well. But those are 4 games that stick out to me so far.
Yeah.
But that is it for our Week 4 recap and our brief Week 5 preview. hop on those lines, or, and don't even listen to us, but, do your own research, look into it. And, you could find some great value early in the week, just looking at some of these lines. And then, like I said, that Ravens game, them being a 1.5 point dog at home with Lamar's status up in the air, that's going to move. So this is perfect example of why you could get ahead on something and really get some great value. But want to thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Follow us on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. Get at us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We will see you very soon. Goodbye.
Peace. Oh, wait. Time out. Before you start on the next one, perfect time. I need some water. I'm fucking parched. I thought I had a glass behind me. I drank it all.
When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score soon as I step through the door. Tryna stack my paper up like a bookstore. Money kissing each other like a rock and roll tour. When I come to your city, I'm a new score. Broke your high score soon as I step through the door. Tryna stack my paper up